Hey guys, it's Andrew Esquivel here back with another review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the HP M276nw LaserJet printer. Now, one thing I like about laser printers is that the toner tends to last longer than cartridges for ink. You get about 1200 prints per toner cartridge, and this one is actually a color laser printer. Now, keep in mind that a laser printer is not going to print photos as well as an inkjet printer. At least I haven't seen a laser printer that can do that. And it's quite large, as you can see. Now, I'm going to be going through a few things with this here printer, the ins and outs, and I'm going to show you a few tests. Now, before I start, I want to let you guys know that please update the firmware. You have to install the drivers and basically the entire software suite, and I recommend downloading the newest version from HP's website directly. You have to have all that installed first before you can update the firmware. Because if you don't, you'll run into some errors, and I'll show you what those errors are like in a moment. But before we go there, let's just go over the actual printer itself. So the printer right now is off, and if we open up here, this is your paper tray. Now we have adjustable things right here, and this tray comes all the way out. You can adjust the paper size on the left and right. And this right here, it's got a little clip, so make sure you don't just pull it back without pushing the blue part here, you might break it. It does not hold as much paper as a business class laser printer. I mean, this is more so for like home use as far as I'm concerned. So to access the toner cartridges, we pull this down, and then this right here we pull in and pull out. And we get these 4 cartridges right here. Now when you first get these, there will be pull tabs. You gotta pull it out and then put it back in. These are really easy. You just grab and pull out. Now, when you print something black on a laser printer, it only uses the black cartridge. If you print something on inkjet, a lot of times it'll end up using a variety of the cartridges just for black. So if you're only printing black documents with this, you probably should only have to replace the black one. That's the extent of my knowledge in terms of toner cartridges. I could be wrong, and if I am, I will put an annotation or something in the description. But I believe I am correct. So we're going to put that away. And we're going to turn this on because it can be kind of loud at times. Now, it's not always making noise, but when it does, it can be a little annoying. Now, while this is going on, I want to state that this is an all-in-one laser printer, and it can connect wirelessly. However, I prefer to connect it via a wire, so to speak. I actually have it connected to my router, and my router then sends information across to my wireless devices if they're wireless. Here you'll see we have a color touchscreen. We can set up a variety of things here, including applications. Of course, you have to have a network connection in order to do so. Now, you can do silly things like play Angry Birds on this. I don't know why you'd want to, but it is possible. But mainly, you just want to set up your fax information. Now, let's say we go and, I don't know, in the settings menu here. There's a lot of options to go through, and there's not any paper documentation that comes with this. I believe there is some virtual documentation. And a lot of times when you want to have something display information, it doesn't just display it on the screen, it forces you to print out the information for whatever reason. Now, I think that's a waste of paper and toner, and perhaps there's a way to turn it off, but I haven't found a way to do so. So, I'm not going to bother going through every single little menu here, because it's not necessary. All you really need to know is that everything you need to configure, you can do through this menu. Now, we have a really nice scanning bed here, and of course, since it's glass, it's kind of going to reflect a bit here, but the scanner can do a really good job only if you use the software that HP provides. Now, I sometimes use Windows Fax and Scan, because it's just simple, it's universal, but this is something that you really need to just use the proper software in order to get a good result. And that is true for whether you're using the feeder or the flatbed. Now the feeder has a max DPI of 300, where if you go with the flatbed, I believe the max is around 1200. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to print a picture, and it's going to be a nice color photo, and we're going to see how well it actually can print a color photo. And when it's printing, you're going to see this little screen right here. The picture might be a little warm, so let's give a look-see. All in all, that's pretty good. Now, I will put a link in the description to the actual photo that I just used so that you guys can also see on the screen and kind of compare here. So, and it also kind of depends on the image quality of my camera, which it's not, the most amazing camera in the world, so. I look over it, and if you were to tell me that this was a laser printer, I would be a little hesitant to say that it is. It's got the quality of a medium range inkjet, I would say. So now I'm going to demonstrate the scanning feature using the feeder. Now keep in mind, like I said before, that the feeder has a maximum DPI of 300 that I can do when it scans an image. And it can obviously scan a bunch of different pages at once. And there is a sizing tool that you can move back and forth. So I'm just using a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So on the software, all you got to do is fill out a little bit of information and then click Start. And it'll send a request to the printer to do what it's going to do. Now, it's not the quickest scanner in the world. I'm kind of just doing this to demonstrate that it can do multiple pages. Now, while that's doing that, one thing I want to demonstrate is that this here can tilt itself on a variety of angles. If you wanted to stop the printing or scanning at any particular time, all you got to do is press that red button right there. And anytime you have a question about the menu section, you can press the question mark, and it's kind of its own little built-in manual. Now, like I was saying before, when you scan anything, you really want to use the software that HP provides versus Windows Fax and Scan, because the software utilizes the drivers that HP has specifically. Now, I know that with Windows Vista and up, you can just plug the printer into your computer and it will download some drivers for it. But my recommendation is to simply get the most up-to-date drivers that HP provides. And when you download that, it comes with the software in order to scan and fax and print with this particular printer. Now, one thing I want to bring up is that this printer does have some issues. So if we were to look at this, this is one of the errors I get when I try to print stuff a lot. Now, I tried looking up on the internet, there's no one real good answer to this. However, I have noticed that it all depends on how you have the printer connected to the computer. Now, if you use a USB connection directly to the printer from your computer, all seems to be well. There's absolutely no issues. Now, trying to get this to work over the network, well, there's a number of different ways you can do that. I personally have a USB connection from the printer to my ASUS router, and I'm using the printer server feature that it's got built into it. Now, at first that posed a bit of an issue. I was getting the aforementioned error. I found out that there are two different ways to set up the server in the router, and one way worked, the other didn't. Now, you can set this up to be wireless. It's BGN, so it only works on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. So if you have ABGN or wireless AC, you're just going to have to deal with the fact that it's going to use 2.4 gigahertz instead of 5. So keep that in mind, that depending on how you have it connected can determine if there will be any issues with it. So now that we've tested the feeding portion of the scanner, let's go ahead and use the flatbed. Bring that up. And there's always a particular way to orient the paper, and there's a little thing on the side that lets us know we got to have it face down, and that the top left is the top portion. Go ahead and close this. So now let's go ahead and look at our touch screen, and let's just click scan. And we have a few options. We can scan to a USB drive, scan to network folder, or scan to email. Now, I don't want to do that, so let's just do copy instead. And this is going to be a color copy. Go ahead and click color copy. And now the printer is using the flatbed to scan whatever is in there. Let's keep in mind that if there's anything in the feeder, there is a sensor that detects that something is in the feeder and should default to this up here versus the flatbed. So let's see if the scanner worked alright. Yep, this is a copy of the Windows test page. And everything seems to be in check. Now, one thing I want to mention about the flatbed scanner is that the resolution, as I've stated before, is much higher than when you use the feeder. According to the software, it supports up to 1200 dpi, which is 4 times more than using the feeder. So, if you really need something to be detailed, use the flatbed. Now, right now we're in the apps menu, and before I couldn't get in here because I didn't have a network connection, and I decided that I would plug it into the network just to show you guys. Now, there's a bunch of different applications, and my internet's a little slow where I am right now, so I'm not going to go through everything. But there are a number of different things you can do, anywhere from news to games, etc. And pretty sure there was even Angry Birds. Yep. For whatever reason, Angry Birds is available to play on your printer. Yeah, well, figured I would just show that to you guys for the sake of showing you. Now, the USB portion of this allows you to plug in a flash drive into the USB port right here. And I believe it'll allow you to view whatever you're about to print. And if you noticed in the scan menu, we can scan directly to the flash drive, so you don't have to have a computer to scan something to your flash drive. So it really is an all-in-one printer. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Everything you need to do, you can do directly from here without the need of a computer. So although this is a good all-in-one printer and it does a pretty decent job at just about everything, it really isn't for everyone because it can be relatively complicated to set up and get working properly. It seems like it's user-friendly because it has a nice GUI interface, but you kind of have to do a few workarounds to get it to work properly. If you're willing to do that, then I can't see any reason not to get it. Some people might be more lucky than others. It all depends on your particular situation. Every computer is a bit different. Every setup is a bit different. If you're planning on just using a USB connection, I can't imagine you running into many issues. If you're planning on doing it over the network, make sure you know what you're doing beforehand. So, that's my little review of this printer, and overall, I gotta say, it's pretty good. I like it. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope it helped.